Welcome back to Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. Last time, we taught the Scottish army how to march in a straight line, and had some fun at their expense with the aid of cheat codes. This time, we're gonna just take a little break from the military slaughtering stuff, and go on to economy. It's time to feed the army.
An army marches on its stomach, or so the old saying goes. My clansmen have been farming and tending sheep for hundreds of years, but gathering enough food to feed an army is a different matter entirely. Without a strong economy, the meager forces that we've cobbled together will collapse again. To support the Scottish army, you'll need to build up your stockpile of resources. To win, gather 50 food, 50 wood, and 50 gold. To gather food from the forage bush, pick a villager.
Okay, once again, I'm going to have to take over for insanely hammy Scottish tutorial guy. So, this mission is a little different. Now, previously we learned how to move units, issue basic orders, and attack stuff with soldiers. This time we're going to take a break from wartime and go on to more peacetime activities. And in fact, I find one of the main draws of this game is I like it for both this game is really a civilization simulator in both regards. You've got the combat and stuff, and the combat's pretty nice, and the tactics are interesting and stuff. But you also have the economy, and building up your economy, building up your town is actually almost as addictive as actually fighting. And I really enjoy that, and it's something that I find a lot of more modern real-time strategy games have sort of lost, really. Modern ones have tend to cut back on the resource gathering. Now, I understand resource gathering can be annoying, but to me, there's always been a charm in it. It's just something that I've always kind of, just had a sort of an attachment to. But yes, resources. Resources are another mainstay of real-time strategy games. Without these, you won't be able to use any troops. So, this mission is going to teach us how to use basic worker units, in this case the villager, and how to gather resources. So let's do as the tutorial says and click on our villager.
Then right-click the forage bush near the blue flag.
And conveniently, they've put another blue flag. But where do they get all these? Whoa!
At the bottom of the screen, you can see how much food the villager is carrying. The villager continues to gather from the forage bush until he's carrying 10 food.
Okay, I didn't realise he'd talk more. But anyway, right-click issue orders, so let's right-click a forage bush. If you click on these bushes, you can see how much food is in them.
The villager will continue working for you, carrying the food to the town centre.
Once you've ordered a villager to gather resources, they're pretty much run on autopilot from that point on. Now, they need a drop-off point to drop off resources, and that's what our town centre is. Let's check how Bob the villager is going here. Okay, he's got 10. Now he's going to go back and carry his baskets at the town centre, and we'll have 10 food in our stockpile.
The amount of food you have is shown in the upper left corner of the screen. In addition to your food stockpile, you can see your current wood, gold, and stone stockpiles.
The food is that corn indicator right now.
You have, the faster you can gather resources. Assign your new villagers to gather food.
So apparently, Scotsmen just appear out of thin air. That actually does sound kind of awesome, but anyway. Let's just go ahead and select a box around these new villages. And yeah, basically, yeah, the more villages you have, the faster your resources will come in. This is probably one of the single biggest things you need to learn about this game. You are going to need to learn, well, not learn this, because you're going to need a lot of villagers. Believe me, a hell of a lot of villagers. You'll notice here that the amount of food in this forage bush is going down quite quickly because of the multiple villagers gathering from it. But yeah, eventually these bushes will run out. But by that time, we'll have more than enough resources to finish this scenario. So we should have 50 food pretty quickly.
Great! You now have 50 food. To win, also gather 50 wood and 50 gold. To gather wood, pick a villager, then right-click a tree.
And for some reason, this guy has got stuck, so I'll use him as my demonstrator to gather wood from the tree. That old dead tree has pretty much had it, so let's just put it out of its misery and get some wood out of it. You'll see here this tree contains 100 wood, which is actually more than enough for our purposes, but there are a couple of other trees here in case we need any more. Gathering wood, pretty much the same as gathering food, and once again the villager will drop off resources at the town centre. You can see how much he's carrying. You'll also note that his name has changed to Lumberjack. Yeah, villagers change names according to what job they're currently performing. It helps you keep track of them more easily.
Haven't found any gold yet. Search in the unexplored territory.
There's gold right here. Yes, gold can be gathered from gold mines. You might notice here that gold mines contain a lot more gold than bushes contain food or trees contain wood. These things can last for quite a while, but they also tend to be a lot harder to find than sources of food or wood. Now, each resource is important for different things, and in fact I might just assign one more person to go ahead and gather wood there. You might notice that I've got a female villager here. Now, whenever a villager is produced, it has a 50-50 chance of being either gender. The gender is purely cosmetic, but they do have different voice clips. Now you're off foraging duty. You're on mining duty. Go ahead and mine gold. Oh, there's a little bit. Oh, there's a flag here too. But we already found that gold, and you're overly happy about that. But anyway, wood's coming in. We have enough wood, so let's go back onto gold mining. Sometimes you'll need to manage your villagers just to, just to get the resources that you need coming in. And I love the way they just, it's so heavy, they just heft that gold all the way back to the town centre. It's just pretty cool anyway. So, they're mining more gold, and very soon we'll have enough gold to finish this. This is another pretty simple scenario, just shows you the basics of gathering resources, but it's something you really need to learn, because if you don't know how to gather resources, your empire is not progressing very far, believe me. Oh, by the way, this deer here, yes, you can actually get food off of deer as well. We'll learn about that later, but for now, we'll stick to a diet of berries. That rhythmic sound of those miners mining. Come on, give me some more gold. More gold. Yeah, good. Okay, good. We're about to finish this, and 10 extra gold.
You're well on your way to making a city.
And if we check our objectives,
you now have enough gold.
And okay, that was a little late, but anyway, our only objective is done. So we are victorious! I seriously love that.
Edward Longshanks, for all his disrepute, has shown military tactics in Wales, England and France to be very effective, if not cruel and ruthless. He's indeed an enemy to be feared. The English sacked the town of Berwick upon Tweed. Would that I could call it a battle, but it was truly more of a massacre. Unless we organize our army, there will be more massacres to follow. I pray we can be ready for Longshanks' coming.
And, well, that's it for feeding the army. Next time, exactly what this thing says. We train the troops. See you then. And now it's time for Ye Old Fact of the Day. The villager. The humble villager. Complete mainstay of your empire. You couldn't really live without these guys and girls. They basically do most of your work for you. They gather resources and they, gather resources. That's pretty much it, but that one job is so absolutely vital that villagers are among the most important units in the entire game, and you will be needing lots of them. Villagers can be produced at the town centre starting from the very beginning of the game. They cost 50 food each, and that's exactly why you really need to focus on gathering food a lot early on. The more food you gather, the more villagers you can create, and the more food you'll get, and then the more villagers you can create, and it just keeps going on, and basically an infinite thing, pretty much. Yes, villagers, if I haven't made this apparent already, gather all three resources. They gather food from, well, a pretty huge variety of sources, actually. Hunting animals, getting berries, fishing if the fish are particularly close to the shore. They have to be a specific kind of fish in order for villagers to fish for them. And farming. Now, farming is something that will probably happen a bit later, and I might end up talking about that one when we get to it. Farming probably deserves a discussion in and of itself. Wood, well, there's only one way villagers can gather wood, and that's to find some trees and chop them down. Fortunately, on most maps, trees are very plentiful, and you should not have trouble finding them. Gold, you have to find gold mines. Now, gold mines sometimes can be a little harder to find, as I've said in this video. Once you do find one, though, it'll probably last you for quite some time. You generally will have at least one gold mine near your starting location, but you might have to explore to find the rest. Stone, pretty much the same. Other than that, villagers have one other extremely vital quality. They build stuff. And that's something we'll be seeing a little later on. But let's just say, villagers, they build things. You can assign multiple villagers to build a single building, and it'll go up quicker. So yeah, they build things, and for that reason, you really need them, because without them, you can't expand your town, build defenses, and build things capable of creating military units. Seriously, without villagers, you really can't have anything else, really. So yeah. Villagers, very, very, very important. However, the downside to villagers is that they're just peasants. I would say they're bad in combat, but that would be an enormous understatement. Villagers are absolutely atrocious in any kind of combat. Their HP is terrible, they have a practically non-existent attack stat, and they have no armor. They're pretty useless when it comes to that, and really should only be fighting if they have no other choice. There are a few upgrades that can help your villagers in combat. In general, the most useful ones early on are those that improve their survivability, because villagers are really, really, really lacking in that regard. Seriously, just about anything will tear them apart, even wild animals in some cases. In fact, in most cases. So that's basically all I need to say about villagers at this point. You can't live without them. They're pretty amazing in terms of getting your economy running. They're just absolutely awful in any kind of combat and should be kept out of any battle situations. If an enemy raid attacks your town and you're really worried about your village's safety, you can click on the town bell button at your town centre, which will automatically cause all your villagers within your town to take shelter within the nearest building. This is very, very useful. Very useful. Because villagers actually are good for maybe one thing when it comes to combat. When they're garrisoned inside a town centre, they'll fire arrows at attackers. This is actually surprisingly powerful, and it's probably a main line of defense against early rushes. Villagers in the town centre, the more arrows it'll fire at attackers. It's actually surprisingly effective. So that's probably the one thing villagers are good at when it comes to offensive capabilities, but, well, more like defensive, but anyway. And like I've said in the actual video itself, when you produce a villager, their gender is randomly determined. It's purely cosmetic and doesn't make any difference at all. So, this is a surprisingly equal opportunity take on the Middle Ages. Both men and women are equally capable of doing the same work. Yeah, probably one thing that they've kind of been a little lenient on as far as historical accuracy, but almost certainly for the best. So, that's basically all I have to say about the villagers. In short, probably the single most important unit in the game, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of them. Get used to it. And now it's time for the history lesson. The great percentage of people in the Middle Ages were peasants, serfs, and lowly villagers who gathered the food and did most of the work. They supported a relatively small class of religious leaders and noblemen who controlled the wealth and power of the community. The life of the peasant and the serf was hard, but improved as feudalism gave way to social systems that allowed the workers to retain more of their produce. Many peasants moved into the middle class of the growing cities. Those who remained on the farms saw their production and wealth increase thanks to the specialization of many technological improvements in agriculture.